She was standing in a thrift store, holding a jacket with a broken zipper, wondering if it looked poor enough. He was 3 aisles over, doing the exact same thing, and in 6 weeks, they'd be completely in love with each other, neither of them knowing they were dating the biggest liar they'd ever meet. Before we get into this, comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now because this story gets absolutely insane. All right, let's go. Let's call him James. James was 29 years old and worth $1.8 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. He'd made his fortune in cryptocurrency early, bought in when everyone said it was stupid, sold before the first crash, then built an investment firm that basically printed money. Penthouses in 3 countries, cars he'd never driven, a watch collection worth more than most people's houses. But here's what nobody tells you about being that rich, that young. Everyone wants you, nobody wants you. Every woman James dated followed the same script. First date, charming, interesting, laughing at his jokes. Second date, suddenly asking questions about his work and his properties. Third date, already planning which charity gala they'd attend together. By date 4, they weren't looking at him anymore. They were looking at his wallet. He'd had a girlfriend actually cry when he bought her a Porsche because she'd wanted the Maserati. He was 29 years old and completely, utterly alone. So James made a crazy decision. He was going to become poor. Not actually, he wasn't stupid, but on paper, in appearance, in every way that mattered for dating. He rented a tiny apartment in a regular neighborhood, bought clothes from Target, got a job teaching guitar lessons at a community center for $18 an hour. He'd live like a normal person, and maybe someone would finally love him for something other than his bank account.
Now let's talk about her. We'll call her Riley. Riley was 27 and worth $2.3 billion. Family money, old money. Her great-grandfather had built a manufacturing empire, and when her parents died in a car accident 5 years ago, she inherited everything. The money didn't make her happy. It made her a target. Riley had learned the pattern early. Meet someone, feel a spark, start dating. Then comes the Google search, and overnight, everything changes. Suddenly, he's talking about our future after 2 weeks, suggesting she invest in his friend's startup, getting angry when she wants to split the dinner bill because you can afford it. She'd had a guy propose to her after 3 months. She found the prenup he'd already drafted in his browser history. Riley was 27 years old and hadn't had a genuine conversation with a man in 3 years. So Riley did something drastic. She cut her hair short and dyed it dark, donated her designer wardrobe, moved into a modest apartment under a fake name. She got a job at a bookstore. Minimum wage, maximum anonymity. For the first time since her parents died, people looked at her like she was just normal, and it felt like freedom. They met at a community garden. James was there teaching a free guitar class to kids. Riley had wandered in on her lunch break from the bookstore. She sat on a bench watching him show a 7-year-old how to hold a chord. He was patient, kind. When the kid messed up, James just laughed and said, "That's how you learn, one bad note at a time." Something in Riley's chest cracked open. After the class, James was packing up his guitar. "That was really sweet," Riley said, walking over. James looked up, smiled. "Thanks. These kids deserve something good, you know. Most of them can't afford real lessons." "You do this for free?" "Yeah," he shrugged. "Money's tight, but some things matter more." Riley felt her heart skip. This man, this kind, humble man, was struggling and still giving his time away for free. "I'm Riley," she said. "James." Neither of them mentioned their net worth. A week later, they got lunch. Not at some trendy cafe, at a diner with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting since morning. It was perfect. James told her about barely making rent with his guitar lessons. Riley told her about living paycheck to paycheck at the bookstore. They bonded over being broke in an expensive city. Every word was a lie. Every feeling was real.
They started seeing each other constantly. Free concerts in the park, cooking dinner at her place because restaurants were too expensive, walking instead of taking Ubers to save money. James loved that Riley never expected him to pay for everything, that she got excited about a $2 thrift store find, that she didn't care about designer labels or fancy vacations. Riley loved that James never tried to impress her with money he didn't have, that he was proud of his simple life, that when he looked at her, he saw her, not a dollar sign. 3 months in, they were in love. Real, deep, terrifying love, built on a foundation of complete lies. But the truth kept getting closer. One night, James's phone rang during dinner. The caller ID said Morgan Stanley Private Wealth. He silenced it immediately. "Spam call," he muttered. Riley nodded, pretending not to notice the slight panic in his eyes. What she didn't know, that was his wealth manager calling about a $60 million real estate decision. 2 weeks later, Riley excused herself during a movie to take a call from her sister. It was actually her estate attorney asking her to approve a $15 million charitable donation. She stepped into the lobby, whispered her approval, then came back with popcorn and a smile. "Everything okay?" James asked. "Just family drama," Riley said lightly. They were lying to each other every single day. And somehow, it was the most honest relationship either had ever had. 6 months in, James knew he had to tell her. He'd bought a ring, not the $200,000 diamond he could afford, but a simple vintage band from an antique shop, $400. He'd saved up from his guitar lessons. He'd propose. Then he'd tell her the truth. She'd understand. She loved him. She'd see that the money didn't matter. Right? Meanwhile, Riley was drowning in guilt. She rehearsed the confession every night. "James, I need to tell you something. I'm not who you think I am. I have money, a lot of it. I hid it because I needed to know you loved me for me." She'd tell him this weekend. She just needed the perfect moment. The truth came out by accident. They were walking through downtown when Riley suddenly stopped. Across the street was a massive banner on a building. Hartley Foundation Gala, honoring Riley Hartley for $100 million education initiative. And there was her face, professional photo, full name, billionaire philanthropist Riley Hartley. James followed her gaze, stopped walking, stared. "Riley?" His voice was strange, distant. Is that you?" Riley's entire body went cold. "James, I can explain. You're a billionaire?" His laugh was sharp, broken. "This whole time, the bookstore, the I can't afford groceries act? It wasn't an act." Tears spilled down her face. "I mean, okay, it was, but not the us part. I just wanted—" "Wanted what? To make a fool out of me?" James's voice cracked. "I told you I was struggling and you just played along? You're really gonna lecture me about honesty, James fucking Morrison?" James froze. Riley's tears stopped. Her expression shifted from panic to something else. Realization. "Oh, don't look so shocked," she said, her voice shaking. "You think I didn't recognize you? Tech billionaire James Morrison? I've seen your face on the cover of Fortune magazine." The world tilted. You knew?" "I figured it out 4 months ago," Riley said, laughing bitterly through her tears. "You walked into my bookstore and I thought, that guy looks familiar. Googled you that night. There you were, $1.8 billion, 30 under 30, cryptocurrency genius." James couldn't breathe. "You knew and you didn't say anything?" "Oh, like you're so innocent," Riley shot back. "When did you figure out who I was?" Silence. 2 months in, James finally whispered. "I saw your signature on a credit card receipt. Riley Hartley. I looked you up and you kept pretending," Riley finished. They stood there in the middle of the sidewalk, Two billionaires who'd been lying to each other for half a year. Two people playing the exact same game. So what now? Riley's voice was small. I don't know. Did you ever actually love me? She asked. Or was this all just some social experiment for you? James looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who'd sat with him on park benches eating dollar store candy, who'd laughed at his terrible jokes, who'd fallen asleep on his shoulder during a free movie in the park. Every single day, he said quietly. What? I loved you every single day, James said, stepping closer. The money didn't matter, yours or mine. I loved that you got excited about finding a good deal on pasta, that you'd walk 3 miles instead of taking a cab, that when you looked at me, I felt like I was enough. Riley's lip trembled. I loved you too, she whispered. I still do. Even though I lied? You lied because you wanted the same thing I did, to be loved for who you are, not what you have. So we're both idiots, James said, almost smiling. The biggest idiots on the planet, Riley agreed. We catfished each other into a real relationship. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Also the most beautiful? Riley laughed, cried, laughed again. I don't care about your money, James said, taking her hands. I never did. I care that you made me laugh when I was teaching kids guitar. I care that you remember how I take my coffee. I care that you're the first person in 10 years who made me feel like I wasn't alone. I feel the same way, Riley said, and I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry too. They kissed right there on the sidewalk, two billionaires dressed in Target clothes, crying and laughing at the beautiful disaster they'd created. They got married in a small ceremony. No media, no publicists, just the people who actually mattered. The wedding was at the community garden where they met. James still teaches guitar lessons there every week. Riley still works at the bookstore 2 days a month. They bought a normal house in a normal neighborhood. Sure, they also have the penthouse and the vacation homes, but twice a week they cook pasta in their regular kitchen and watch TV on their regular couch, because they learned something that most people never figure out. Love isn't about what you have, it's about who sees you when you have nothing. And they'd both found someone who saw them completely, even when they were both lying through their teeth.